But hello, everybody. I'm Dominic, or Mr. Hackathon, as people call me on social media. This is a very quick and light introduction to building software without coding. And this whole theme will make sense as we go through the presentation and the workshop. So, a little bit about me. I'm Dominic. I actually started not in the no code and low code space. I started in the programming space. So my early memories of programming is actually scripting and HTML and CSS 10 plus years ago, maybe even 15 plus years ago. Um, there was MySpace, and MySpace was huge, a huge social network when I was in, I don't know, when I was like very, very early high school. And I'm from London, born and raised in London, and in London, people used to pay other people to make custom MySpace layouts, and this was just HTML and CSS, and I wanted money, and so I taught myself HTML and CSS, loved it, and really got into programming. That was my early first steps into programming. Also, around this time, I started web development, but the part of web development I started at was with Adobe Dreamweaver. So, was with Adobe Dreamweaver. And that was my early introduction to no code before I actually knew what no code was. I am an international or former international athlete and architectural technologist. So I played basketball growing up, which allowed me to get a scholarship to go to America. And in America, I was an architecture and construction student. And this says architectural technologist mainly because when I went into the field, I wasn't an architect or architectural designer or anything like that. I wasn't a project manager or something like that. I was a little bit in between, but my focus was on emerging technologies. So I was focused on drones for the construction industry, 3D printers, AR and VR for architectural designs. That was my job coming out. And that was really my early entry into technology and really getting my feet wet in technology. For probably 2 years now, I've been a content creator and educational instructor in the no code and low code space. I have advised startups and I have advised accelerators on developing products, developing MVPs for products. I am a creator in residence for a community called 100 Days of No Code, which is one of the biggest no code communities out there. And I'm an On Deck Fellow, which is a community of entrepreneurs and really savvy professionals all over the world. Also, if anyone has any questions as we go through this, feel free to ask questions as and when you have questions. So today we will be doing a couple things. We will be looking at why no code and low code is even a thing. Why are we even talking about that? We'll be looking about the different types of technology in the no code and low code space. We'll be looking at careers and opportunities in low code and no code and communities. And then we'll be finishing with a practical workshop on how to actually build something without coding. So problems with developing software. So historically, software has been becoming cheaper and cheaper to develop. But what has spurred that is because software historically has been expensive for most people to develop. It's been a specialty skill. Not everyone could develop software, and it's been time consuming. And so, what this thing called no code is emerged as a visual development or a way of developing visually that allows you or allows anybody to create software with minimum coding ability. So a good example of this that you might know is WordPress. There's many other examples, but WordPress powers, I think the statistic is about 80% of businesses are actually using WordPress. And that is the fascinating thing about this no code and low code space. So technologies, there's many different technologies in the no code and low code space. I'm going to go over a few. So I mentioned WordPress, but when it comes to website builders, you have other tools such as Webflow, such as Bubble. You may or may not know Wix or Squarespace. These are tools that are huge in the UK, huge in the US, but these are tools that people are using to create websites without coding. But you also have automation tools. So automation tools, you can automate a tweet, you can automate image generation, content generation, you can automate sending an invoice. All of this can be done with automation tools like Zapier, billion-dollar company, huge, that is making it really easy to create automation processes. Most recently, I automated a way to connect my Gmail and OpenAI's technology. There's lots of really interesting automations you can do. Virtual and augmented reality. So maybe you've used Snapchat, TikTok, or Instagram or Facebook, where you have filters. You can create filters without coding. You don't need to know how to create filters that are games, filters that have some logic to it. You don't need to know how to code. Visual scripting is what you actually do that. Gaming. You can create games without coding using tools such as Buildbox and actually deploy it to the App Store or the Google Play Store. You can create Web3 applications. So if you want to create a cryptocurrency, if you want to create a token, if you want to create some kind of decentralized application, you can do that without coding using tools like Third Web and OpenZeppelin. Chatbots and voice applications. WhatsApp bots, Facebook bots, all of these can be created using tools like VoiceFlow, using tools like ChatFuel. You can create really interesting business applications without coding. Databases. Maybe you are in love with front end development and back end development really confuses you. There's really interesting tools in the no code and low code space that allows you really easy to establish databases and maintain those databases without coding. And lastly, mobile applications. And I will go through some of the things I've built shortly. But mobile, you can create native mobile applications and you can create progressive web applications. You can create native mobile applications where you can actually export the code, and some of them you can't export the code. Again, if anyone has any questions throughout this, please just feel free to ask me any questions you might have. Careers and opportunities. So when it comes to actually careers and opportunities in the low code and no code space, one of the biggest ways is a citizen developer. So there's a statistic about there's going to be 4 times more citizen developers than there will be traditional programmers. And a citizen developer is a regular business user at a company that is also developing IT applications. So because developing software is so expensive, because engineers are so expensive, what you're seeing more and more is business users using no code and low code tools to develop their applications, to automate their workflows, to do things to make their life easier. Freelance developer. You have, I've been a freelance developer previously, but you have people that are learning Bubble, learning Webflow, learning certain tech stacks within the no code and low code space to become freelance. For example, when someone wants a website, they don't always care what programming language you've done it on. So you can also do this in Bubble or Webflow or WordPress or any number of tools to actually get this done. Agency managing director. So you can actually manage an agency. So an agency is you getting the contracts from businesses and hiring developers to actually execute these contracts. You see this model here in the UK a lot of people starting agencies and then outsourcing the development to another country. You see that a lot. But anybody can start that. You can become a founder. So there's 2 really main paths for a founder. You can bootstrap a company. That means you can develop a company, have it profitable, have it generating revenue, and invest that back into the company. All of this done using no code without coding. Or you can develop a VC-backed company. Typically, no code and low code thrives in the VC environment in the initial stages. So if you want to prove traction and you want to move quickly, you might use no code and low code to actually do that. You can become a content creator and instructor. So I make lots of content on TikTok, on YouTube, and I also teach Google communities, Amazon communities, Microsoft communities, and beyond. Or you can just be a hobbyist. There's lots of use cases where you can use no code and low code to manage your own personal life and help you improve as a person. Again, if there's anything that's confusing, if you have anything that comes to mind, just let me know. So communities, I put this here because this is especially important anytime you're learning something new. As you guys know, in the community you're currently in, how powerful communities can be. Some communities you might want to research in the no code and low code space is On Deck. So On Deck is a community of really amazing professionals across different fields. I came through On Deck No Code, but you have On Deck Climate, you have On Deck VC Scouts. So you have really interesting people on certain tracks in the On Deck community. 100 Days of No Code. So you want to put that in the search engine on Twitter. 100 Days of No Code is a community of people that challenge themselves to do small micro projects for 100 days using no code. It's really used as a way to dip your toe into no code, really understand, and you go through a range of tutorials to actually learn. It's very, very similar to 100 Days of Code. MakerPad. So MakerPad, if you Google MakerPad.com, MakerPad was acquired maybe 2 years ago, and it was one of the biggest communities in the no code and low code space. Same with Indie Hackers. Indie Hackers wasn't acquired by Zapier, but I believe it was acquired by Stripe. And again, it's a huge community of solo entrepreneurs. It's a huge community of entrepreneurs in general, really sharing information on how to get started on your journey. And lastly, Product Hunt. So Product Hunt is a platform for where people are launching new products. So if you make a new app, if you have a new project and you want to showcase it, similar to how you would do on GitHub, but with Product Hunt, it's more about people showcasing that are trying to monetize some of their projects. So we're going to go over some of the projects that I personally have created. This one in the screenshot, I believe I'd taken it out of the Google Play Store and the App Store, but this was a scholarship finder app, which is a very simple directory app of scholarships where you can easily apply for the scholarships and you can find the scholarships. Missing Black people. I'm based in the UK, and there's a lot of missing people in the UK, and I created an automated directory of missing people in the UK. This led to how many people? Thousands and thousands of people signing a petition for the government to do some more for missing people in the UK. It led to us as an organization working with the police, us as an organization working with other charities and getting grant funding. So I know a lot of you might care a lot about social issues or the UN Sustainable Development Goals. What no code and low code can allow you to do is focus a little less on building and a little more on actually marketing, communicating, developing relationships, and really pushing what you're building out there. Crypto scam detector. So crypto scam detector is a Chrome extension that I built again with no code that uses the coin market cap API. Hopefully you're familiar with this if you're familiar with crypto, and it detects whether or not a website that you're currently on is in CoinMarketCap database. And if it's not, it basically says it's a scam. Web3 is a directory of over 139 resources. This was a app in the Google Play Store and the App Store. And we're about to get started in building now. So does anyone have any questions before I get started? It can be anything whatsoever, but if no one has any questions, we'll go ahead and get started. So the tool we're going to use today is Glide. So just going to let people in. The tool we're going to use today is Glide, and Glide is a tool that allows you to develop applications without coding. You need to use some, you don't necessarily need to, but it can be easier to use a external backend database here like Google Sheets, but you can use any backend database that you want, Airtable, or there's a variety of others. It is free to use and you don't have to download it. So you don't have to worry about any downloading. It is free. and what you create is available offline. I think somebody turned their mic on. Do you have a question? Okay, I don't think that's a question. So we're gonna get started, and I have a free I have an account already, and I only have a free account. I'm going to click Open Clyde, and I think we're going to create a event directory, maybe. So what I wanted, you can see all the projects that I've made. What I want to do is go to New Project. I want to go to, I want to give it a name. So I'm not sure what we are going to name our project. Does anyone have any ideas? No. So we're just going to name it Event Directory. And what we're going to do is use Google Sheets. But before I go ahead and select that as a source, I have to actually add more here. So I'm using Google Sheets as my backend database. Each individual table represents a table as you would when it's coding, like when you're coding. That will make a little bit more sense later as I add more data to this. So I am going to add a title. I'm going to add a description. I'm going to add an image. Let's call that cover image. I'm going to add a URL. I'm going to add a start date. And I'm going to add a category too. So what I have added is like a column or a row for the headers, which you need in every, whether you code or not, you need that in every table. There's no different here. And I'm probably going to add one row. So I'm just seeing. So there's a question in the chat and it says, do we have to pay for anything to start with no code? And it depends on the platform. The platform I'm showing you now, you don't have to pay. Some platforms you have to pay. And it also depends. If I show you another tool, so here's a tool called Flutterflow that allows you to develop applications and actually export the code. You can use Google Firebase as your database. And this one, again, is free, but the $30 a month allows you to download the code. So yeah, it depends. But even then, if you do a free trial, you can get very, very far in the free trial time and actually deploy a working application before you actually start your trial or payment period. But it depends. The answer to the question, it depends on the platform. And so we're gonna go back. So I'm gonna add. Let's not call it program. Let's call it JavaScript fundamentals. So we're basically creating an event directory of events similar to something called Eventbrite, but we're having it as a native application or local application. We're going to leave cover image for a minute. URL for now, we're just going to put Google because this is a fake. I don't have a real JavaScript fundamentals event. We're going to say the start date is December 5th, 2022. We're going to say the category is technology. And we're going to add one more just to show you what this looks like. Should we do like Yeah, so if you are following along, you can do what I'm doing. This is being recorded, so you can watch and then do it afterwards if you want to do it afterwards. It would be amazing if you could follow along, but because I'm probably moving quicker than you would move, it might be a little bit difficult for you. But if you can try and follow along, it'll be great because you can ask questions in real time. But there's no pressure because it's being recorded. You can create your own afterwards. So I'm doing a similar thing here. I just put hip hop fundamentals, an introduction to hip hop. Basically, I'm creating fake events for now, and I put December the 6th as that date, and I put this one category as music. Okay, so here we need. I can't just drag and drop any image in this cover image. I need a URL. So the one of the ways that I get URLs is I upload it to my Google Drive, and I'm going to show you how to do this. I upload it to my Google Drive and I get the URL from Google Drive. So if I just grab any cool image, so what you want to do, if I go to the right Google Drive account, what you want to do is drag and drop. If you're going to do it this way, you want to drag and drop. Okay, thank you. You want to drag and drop the image, and there's lots of ways to do this. There's online tools that allow you to just upload it and get the URL. It doesn't really matter. You just need to host it somewhere and get the URL. I want to change the sharing options to anyone with the link, and then I can just put my link in here. And JavaScript fundamentals, I need something for programming. So let's see. Let's just type JavaScript and see what cool picture comes up. I like this one. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to drag and drop. We're going to click here, change the sharing options, change to anyone with the link, copy that, and put that in here. I'm not sure. So just thinking about what you said, I think it's Wasim. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing your name right. Sorry if I'm not. I'm not sure using formulas works here entirely, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So we're using Glide to render our front end, and I think it wants to see values here. I believe, I'm not 100% certain, and I'll show you right. We're going to click continue, and we're going to find the event directory. That's what we just created. We're going to give it some time to load. Immediately what it's done, it has loaded our data in here. We were going to add a whole bunch of customization to this, but this has given us the foundation of what we want for our progressive web app. So on the left, we have some options. On the right, we have some options to add customization. On this, we have a menu and we have other things here, and we're going to customize it to make it look how we want it to look. First and foremost, I want to remove this tab that says users, or I want to at least hide it because I don't want the users to see who the users are, like all the users in that. And so I hid that, and because we only have one sheet that's displaying, it removed the menu completely, which is perfect, which is exactly how I want it. The next thing I want to do is I'm actually going to make some customizations. I'm going to remove this label sheet one, and I'm going to say event directory. You don't have to put anything there. I'm just going to put that there for now. And I want to change the style of this. I don't really like the style. And so how I'm going to have it is you have some options. You can change the style. You can have list, which it is now. You can have tiles. You can have a calendar. Let's see. You can have a calendar. You can have a map. And we didn't actually add a location column, but that location column would help, and that would be amazing. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do that now because that will help later. So I'm gonna add a location column, and I'm just gonna add a random location. So let me think about a location. I don't know. So I actually described a random location. Well, it's not exactly random. It's my local shopping center, and I put this location. I don't know what's going on right now. I'll put this location here, and so it automatically identifies that I've directly added new columns to the backend database, and it's going to add new components for them. You're going to see what that actually does later. But we're changing the style of this. It could be a checklist, it could be cards, which we wanted, it could be swipe, which is like Tinder or dating apps, and it could be detail screen, but the detail screen is used for a different purpose. So we'll get to the detail screen a little bit later. So we have cards, and what we want to do is map the content to what we actually have in our database. So the image right now is mapped to title, which is why it's not rendering any image. What we want to do is map it to cover image. And so now we can see the image. The header is the description. The title is the URL. We don't want that. We want the title to be the title. And so now we have the header as the description, the details. We actually want the details to be the description, and we're going to remove the header. So what we have now, and this tutorial I'm showing you, after showing you this, you can apply the same concepts to make a directory app for local businesses. You can make an app for like an e-learning app and put all videos in your app. It's the same concept. So really focus on like the concepts, but not the specifics of it being an event directory app. So what we have here is cards, and you can also add an action. So this is where no code thrives in adding logic in a really, really easy way. So when someone clicks on this, an action happens. Right now it says show detail screen for this item, but you can do lots of different actions if you wanted to. You can add a new row to the database. You can make a text message. You can dial a phone number. You can increment a number. There's lots of different things you can do. The real interesting things here is you can trigger a webhook and you can trigger a zap, which is Zapier. But you can trigger a webhook. What that actually means is that you can connect it to any API. So if you wanted to connect it to API, let's say GPT-3, you could do that. And you can really easily create an AI-driven application depending on the logic. Here, I can change the design. I can change the shape of the image. I can change the size of the image, but I don't really like that. I like full size. I can change the card style. So as you can see, the style changes a little bit. I like that one. I can change the orientation. So maybe I want featured events and I want featured events like that. And then I could add something else below. But I'm going to keep it vertical for now and keep it simple for you guys. And I can change the corners to have round or square. So I typically like the square ones. We can change the text style and the size of the text. And we can change the number of lines it actually displays. We are going to add a button and add a favorite button. and I'll show you why we're going to add this later. And we can add a tag. So what I'm going to do is add a tag, and my tag is going to be the category. So you can see technology, music. If I go to my backend database, you can see the categories technology and music. We're going to do more with that a little bit later. I showed you the backend database in Google Sheets, but also Glide has a native one that actually allows you to do some complex functionality and add some complex data. So if then else statements or if else statements, add relational databases, you can do math, you can do lots of really interesting things and make really interesting conditions. So we're going to go back and just making sure we did everything here. And so what we're going to do next is add the details. So when someone clicks this, it shows a details screen. We are going to click on that screen, and as you can see, we have the details screen, but it's so boring. We are going to make this a lot more interesting. So what we want to make this interesting is to add more components. The way we're going to add more components is click this plus symbol right here. And the first thing I want to do is add a image. But as you can see, you can add another list on here and have list relations. For example, if you have a company, you can have here a list of companies, and when you click on it, you might see another list of employees. But we want to add the image, and I can just drag and drop to reorder this. And right now, that image component I just added is mapped to title, but we actually want that to be mapped to the cover image. So you can see it, the cover image here. It looks a little bit weird, so we're just going to change that to be like that. So we have a cover image we actually like. I do like this title and subheader. We don't need this link right here. And we have this URL, which is a text action or action text. But I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to actually add a button. So I add a button, and I am going to say visit. And the action, instead of show notification right now, if I click this, it's going to show a notification. I don't want that. What I want is I want it to link. I want to open a link, and the link I want it to open is the URL. And I can open in a web view or a browser just to show you the difference. Web view opens it. Google doesn't allow itself to be embedded, but web view allows you to open a website inside your app. And browser just opens a new tab. So that's what that does. So we're going to do that. And instead of visit, actually, I'm going to say book. We have the location, the category, and the start date. So I am going to leave the category and start date just like that. But the location, we want to make this a lot better. So we're going to add another component called map, I believe. So yeah, map. And as you can see, the map automatically maps to the location right here. It shows the address on the map, and we can see the address on the map. And just to give you a idea of the different things you can add. So we can add a stopwatch, we can add a signature someone needs to sign, we can add notes. Let's say if you're creating an app for a business and they have to make notes on something, you can do that. You can add a rating if you're creating, I don't know, a review platform or review app, reactions, like, there's lots of different things you can add here. Videos, audio, if you want to create a audio app like Spotify, video, if you want to create a video app or e-learning app or something like that. You can even add charts and progress bars for analytics. So we have two things here. So we have our initial page, and we have our detail screen, and we have our detail screen almost exactly as we like it. Right now, you can see this edit button, and that allows users to edit information in our database. We don't actually want that. We don't want every user to edit information in our database. So we click edit form, and right now it says allow users to edit. I could add a condition and add a condition to certain types of users. So maybe I only want admin to be able to edit information. I can add that condition right here. But what I'm going to do is remove that completely, so now no one can edit information directly from the app. What I do want though is to allow people to add new events. So what we're going to do that is we're going to go to edit cards, add form, and right now it's unchecked, but we want to select add users to add items. And when we click on that, we can see it opens a details screen that allows us to do that. And what we can see here is we do have to make some adjustments to the types of data this is. So title is text, so a text entry is fine. Same for description, but cover image is an image, and we don't actually want a text entry. We want an image picker. We want to allow the user to actually pick an image to upload. So if we find pickers and add an image picker, and that's what we want. With URL, we want them to upload the URL, but we can actually change the label for this, and we can put event link, just so it makes a little bit more sense. The start date, we have the right thing for start date, and category. Now, category is a little bit different because we want a drop down menu for category. So if I click choice, it's going to ask me for values. Yes, Glide is free. So Glide's free, but it also has a premium version. And when we get further along, you'll see slight differences in the premium version and the free version. So category, to actually do the category slightly different, let's see if I can do this here. So I have to create so this sheet I created, I'm going to call events. I'm going to make another sheet called users. We haven't got to that point yet. And I'm going to make another sheet called categories or event categories. And I'm going to give it a header and I'm going to give that some values. So technology and music. And so now, if I was to refresh this, yeah, right now, the way I'm showing you, Google Sheet is the back end. There's other tools you can use to have it as your backend, but the way I'm showing you right now, which is probably the easiest way, Google Sheets your backend. If you want a more complex backend, you're probably going to use a more complex tool also. Which there are, like for example, I showed you Flutterflow, where you can use Firebase as your backend. So depending on the tool, it allows different levels of complexity. So what we wanted to do is okay. I can do another small project. Write in the chat what small project that you would want me to do. Like, is there a particular industry or type of project? And depending on the time, I let you know how much of that I can actually get done just off the fly. So category. Right here we have a choice. And I spelled that terribly wrong here. So events, ENTS. And what we want here, I'm going to refresh this again just so to make sure it updates. And I'll talk a little. I'll answer. Let's move forward a little bit, and I'll answer some questions after we get a little bit more done. So I want to write this to category default value. The source is category. So let's just see that. Yeah. So the source is category. So when someone wants to add a new event, they're going to have to add a category. Obviously, I have a certain amount of categories here, and they can add it from there. And so now we have a form for people to actually add new events. We have our events. We also have details about the event. What we can also do is we could add a new page. So I'm going to add a new page. And I'm going to call this page calendar. And what I'm going to do is just a different view of the events. So I'm going to use this calendar tab. I'm going to edit calendar. The start date is going to be the start date. And this is just a different view of the event. So I can add a calendar view like this. I can add a list view. And so now what you see is the event directory, or you can have a calendar view. And that's just to show you. I probably wouldn't design it like that in real life. And what we can see is here we have some icons. If you just want to change the icon, you can just click here. We can just do calendar. And for this one, I might just do I'll name this events. And we got a calendar here. The next thing we want to do is allow users to save events to their favorites. So to actually do that, we need to store users' information. The minimum we need is some kind of name, their email, and a profile picture. So we don't actually need a profile picture, but I like to put like a space for profile picture. So if I just put my details in there. Okay. You can either do this in Google Sheets, or you can do it in Glide, or you can do it somewhere else. But what we're going to do to tell Glide we have users is change this to refresh, just make sure that updates. Oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. So I made a mistake. I just erased some of the stuff I did. So if I actually go back, just fix that. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, that's fine. Go to user profiles, users, and now I have my users. It's rendered. So I mapped name to full name, email to email, image to profile picture. And I can allow an image upload. So when they click that, they can upload images. And the reason I did that is because I actually want to allow, I can unhide this, and now I have a favorites bar. And now when a user clicks this button, it saves that to their favorites. When they click that, there's nothing in their favorites. So now they can save events to their favorites. There's a question: is the free version limited to certain types of things? The free version, just to limit, is the free version limited to certain things? Yeah. So based on features. So moving forward, so everything we just did, you do with the free version, but the features as we're moving forward, you're going to see some difference. So just making sure I've done everything. We have user profiles, we have our events, we have the details, we can save to our favorites, we can search. Let's just see. Yeah, we can search. Okay, and we also have a calendar view where we can change it to the day. When we click on this, it's the same thing. It opens the details screen and we can go home. And so what we're going to do now, just before we publish, we are going to change some of the settings. So our first event directory app. So what I'm doing here is just adding some things to make it you will see where this name and icon come in a little bit later. On the appearance, I can change the accent color so you can see the color change in there. So let's just have it this color. I can change the theme, so I can have it like this. And right now I have it to match the device's theme, but if I remove that, you can see it's all black now. So I kind of like this one. No, I like this one. You can change the font. So I like this font. So tablet and desktop. So you can open tablet mode. So I will show you what this looks like right now if you open it on a desktop computer. If you open it on a desktop computer, it looks like a mobile app instead of being responsive to the fact it's on a desktop computer. When you open it on your phone, it looks exactly like this. When you open it on desktop, it also looks like this, which is probably not the best. With the Pro version, it becomes responsive and it responds to the fact that it's on a desktop. Privacy control. So you can I'm going to show you, I'm going to actually publish this and you'll be able to open this on your phone or wherever you want to open it. You can make it public so they don't actually have to give it email. You can have public with email. You can limit this to only certain users in the table. You can add Google sign in. And so we're going to just do that. We're going to make it public with email and allow sign in with Google. So with this particular app, you cannot publish directly to the Google App Store. You have to use a wrapper. I will show you what tool to use a little bit later. And the sign-in screen. So we have a sign-in screen. We can say event directory. So the Pro version allows you to brand this and add an image at the back of this and customize this a lot more. I have the free version, so I can't do that. And I believe that is it for now. And so what we want to do, I actually want to make a change just before I publish this. Okay, so I like it like that. What we want to do to publish this is just click publish in the top right corner. We can add a name to the subdomain. If you want to add a custom domain, you do have to have the Pro version. But we're just going to leave it like this. Click publish. Let it load, and now it's being published. And so this is what it looks like on your computer. So if I log in, this is what it looks like on your computer. Exactly like this, with all this extra stuff. If you had the Pro version, it will be responsive and the actual app will respond to the fact you're on a computer and you wouldn't see all this extra stuff. Sorry, I keep dropping my mouse. Okay, I have my mouse again. And so you can actually, if I remove this, and I can put this in the chat to make it easy. If you use that link, you can see what it looks like on a phone. And that is how you create a mobile application without coding. I think we did this in under an hour, maybe under an hour and a half. But this is really simple. So this is a very, very, very simple use case. We can add a lot more complexity. And also no code is a lot wider than the tool I've just used. So to show you some things I've recently made, um, here is a site I made using a tool called Bubble and GPT-3. And it's a tool for generating product testimonials. So you can say Telegram. You have to type the product, the name of the product. You have to select some words. Yeah. You have to select some words about it. Let's say it's outstanding. Type your email address. Select generate. And you can see it says I made a new one. But it says if you're looking for a central messaging app, Telegram is the way to go. It's original, outstanding, easy to use, plus it's free whenever. So this is what AI has done. Again, all I used is the API. All I used is a no-code tool to be able to make this. Another one is what's another product I made? Okay. This is another one I've made not too long ago for a hackathon, and it's an image generation tool. So it uses actually a couple tools and a couple APIs, but it goes through this chatbot to help you make an AI generated image. Let's just say a dark forest. We want it to be cinematic. Obviously, it's outdoors, or we want it to be outdoors. What style do we want it? Monochrome, medium shot, iPhone X. And we want this to be professional. And it gives you a prompt that can be used in an AI image generation tool if you want to use it externally, but it also generates an image for you. So it generated this image for me. But also the point of this application that I made with, again, another tool without coding, is to create this prompt. So then I could go to a tool like playgroundai.com, which is a great tool for generating AI art, if anyone's interested. So we're just going to let it load. So all of these were generated using AI. If I click create and I take the prompt that I made using my no code tool and I select generate, what it will do, it will generate an image for me. So here, it's generated some images of what I've asked it to generate. So that is how you create a mobile application without coding. I think I didn't go over the tool to allow you to deploy it. Nativator. So this tool, specifically with Glide, this tool will allow you to put it into a wrapper, convert any responsive website into a native mobile application fast and without code. So what it actually does, it just puts it into a wrapper and allows you to export a build file that you can publish to the Google Play Store or the App Store. Does anybody have any questions? It was a lot. I threw a lot at you. I went a little bit fast. Yeah, so there's a lot of people using this. I'm not sure which one you're asking safe, this one or Glide, but with both, they have a very big audience. Lots of people are using it. Yeah, so Glide. So if we actually, not just with Glide, but with most no-code tools. So Glide are at Series A. They raised 2.3 million from some of the top investors in the world. So a lot of these, especially Glide, and they came through. Let's see, they came through Y Combinator, so they have a good reputation. And most of the no code tools have a good reputation. Not, I don't know any that has really a bad reputation, and maybe that's because I use all the credible ones. No, the number of pages, it's not number of pages that's limited. It's features like uh this tablet mode is limited. Here the branding is limited. But it's not about number of pages. Does anybody have any more questions or want to see anything else? I think we have a little bit more time. Yeah, so sign in with Google. That was, so I actually did sign in with Google. If I sign out, or if I go to this one and I sign out, signing with Google's here. So you can in Glide you can add sign in with Google, but nothing else. With some of the others, you can actually add more. So I use a tool called Odalo. I've made a number of applications for clients and myself called Odalo with Odalo. So Odalo, if we actually look at some of the templates here. So people are making appointments apps, ordering apps, real estate apps, blogging apps, e-commerce directories, uh, apps for rideshare, and that one you can add more sign-in options, more single sign-in options. Does anybody want to see anything else? So we have about 12 more minutes. Oh, 22 more minutes. Can you make your own application? So you can actually, so like I've just made this right now, you can do the same thing. If you was following along, you can do it then, or you can watch the video and you can download it on your phone. So when you visit this on your phone, and I put the link in the chat, when you visit on your phone, it will ask you to save it as a shortcut, and that's what progressive web apps do. You don't have to upload it to the Google Play Store or the App Store, and that is the advantage of progressive web apps. Some people don't want to actually create an application you upload to the Google Play Store or the App Store, especially the App Store. So most recently, the App Store is relatively strict and forceful on developers. They also take a lot of money that you make. Yep. So you can start freelancing. There's community. So let's see. If we go back to Glide. So no code is similar to code in that if you want to start freelancing, whether with code or no code, it's best to develop a portfolio of projects. Not all of them have to be paid, but you do have to have projects you can show people. Often people are asking for things to be done here and will hire people. Here you can see obviously there's hire expert. So you have certified agencies, certified experts, and these are people Canada, Paris, France, Australia, uh, Brazil, Amsterdam, Germany, all over the world. You have people that have become glide experts and they're freelancing doing this, and agencies doing the same. So there's another question: Are they all what we need to make an app, or can we add some features? I'm not sure what you mean by add features. Do you want to add what kind? So with this particular app, no, you can't. With Glide, you can do more than what I showed you. But if you want to add something like really, really custom, you can't do that. um, I would suggest using something like Flutterflow or Adalo. So the way Adalo works, if you want to add features, so I'm gonna actually, you're gonna get a sneak peek. I think there's an app. So this app is actually in the Google Play Store now, but I was working on some improvements to it. Um, but if you wanted to add in Adalo, if you wanted to add something that's really unique that's not there, you could actually, they have a component marketplace where people have created creating new features that wasn't there, but you could also create private features here. So using code, you can, and typically I think it's React, but using React, you could create private features and extend the functionality of what's being placed here. Or with Flutterflow, you can actually export the code. Um, actually, thinking about it, with Flutterflow, you can export the code and add features that way. So I'm trying to think about what email address. I did export Flutterflow code not too long ago, so I'm trying to think about what email address I did that with. I can't remember my username password, but yeah, you can. It depends on the tool, and that's your answer. Um, but I'm curious what features you want to add that are not already provided, because most of the features are already provided, or there's some way to connect it to something you would want to add without you creating anything new. Yeah. Any more questions? You have about 17 minutes left. So if there's absolutely anything you want to see, really it can be in most fields of no code. I have 70 minutes that I can show you how to do it. I'm not sure what you mean by RTL. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's see here. So yeah, um, I want to take a text bar. So I'd have to ask. So the good thing about the no code platforms is you can use it just like with a lot of the open source libraries. You can reach out to the developers and ask. And I've never had to use it, so I'm not sure how I would do it. But I would assume because the Arabic world is so huge in the world, they would support it, or they currently support it, and I just don't know how. So if no one has any other questions, we could wrap it up. But I could also answer more questions. Broadly speaking, I showed you some AI things. Which is better, coding or no coding? I'm not sure better's like the right way to see it. Uh, no code is good for stuff like, so I show you what people in my community do with no code. So there's a lot of people in the community of builders that I'm in, um, that will work on a project, build a project for a couple months, and then sell it for four figures, five figures, six figures. And they sell it on websites like Microacquire. They sell it on websites like Tiny Acquisition. Not spelling that right. Yeah. SID. Oh, let's go to Google. They sell it on websites like Tiny Acquisitions and Microacquire, and that's what the people in my communities do. It is recorded, so it is recorded, so you can watch it back and kind of fast forward to the parts you missed. Um, the sweet spot is low code. So somebody said for security they prefer coding. I was a product manager for a cybersecurity product in an old job, and I promise you, 90% of developers know nothing about security. Most of the developers are using open source libraries. If those open source libraries have vulnerabilities in, the developer just puts the vulnerability in the code. I was focused on application security, which is meaning the security vulnerabilities in your actual code base, um, that developers are putting in. And developers are putting in a lot of security vulnerabilities, which is why they hired people like me to find uh, ways around this. Um, so it's probably not the right mentality, or like for security, I prefer coding, because actually most developers are not thinking about security. Um, I think if you want to solve local issues, if you want to make money, doing work for businesses, whether locally or internationally, no code is a great way to do that. That's not really intensive. The sweets. Hello. Hello. For some reason, my desktop. For some reason, the internet went off on my desktop. But I was saying, I'm not sure where I cut off, but I was saying there was somebody said about for security reasons they prefer coding, and I was saying that I was previously a product manager for a cybersecurity product that focused on application security. So that's the security developers are putting in your code. Developers almost all developers are using open source code and open source libraries. And if there's a vulnerability in the open source library, if the library is not up to date, which often it's not, the chances are there's going to be a vulnerability in the code, and that's how hackers actually get into the application of the code. Developers are not thinking about security. They should be. Often they're not. And I don't think you shouldn't limit the opportunities of what you can build because of this thing. Oh, I prefer security. I prefer coding. Coding isn't naturally secure. It's actually probably more insecure than no code. There's also other tools. Like there's tools. There's a tool called Retool that allows developers to develop internal applications. So what I showed you is external facing. There's lots of companies that are developing internal applications that, as end users, we would never see. And sometimes it's more efficient to use no code to actually develop that, because when you're actually working in the field, like every day of development is expensive, which is why no code is $1 billion industry now, because for businesses, it saves millions of dollars, pounds, whatever currency you are on, wherever you are in the world. Let me see if there's any more questions. So to answer your question, which is better, coding or no coding, they're different. I think knowing how to code is a very, very, very valuable skill. Knowing when to code is almost as valuable. To create a directory site, I will tell you just do what we did here. If you're going to create something like really, really innovative, like a new algorithm that's never been seen before, chances are you can't do that with no code. But 80% of the use cases you can do with no code, especially in the early stages.